right, let's go to do some SEC superlatives because we are tying a bow on the 2024 class. So, of course, we got to talk about the SEC. I said at the very beginning of the show, I'm going to say it a million times. For the 16th straight season, the SEC has the #1 class in the land. That is Georgia. But your instant impact player comes from Auburn. You like wide receiver Cam Coleman. Why?
Perfect segue, because if he had signed in July, he'd be playing for Texas A&M. Instead, he's playing for Auburn, which, hey, tip of the cap to Hugh Freeze. We've seen what he has done with receivers when he was at Ole Miss and the talented receiver group that he would bring in when he was with the Rebels and now at Auburn, doing the same thing. Cam Coleman, I talked about it earlier, seeing him in the spring and in the summer on the 7-on-7 circuit, that gap between him and Jeremiah Smith is not that wide. He's the #2 receiver, but the #5 overall player. To have 2 receivers inside the top 5, not that common in an era of pass rushers, offensive tackles, and quarterbacks, but that speaks to how talented that Cam Coleman is. I anticipate that he is going to become an immediate impact player for Auburn. We saw when Hugh Freeze was at Ole Miss, when he brought in that first full recruiting class in the class of 2013. It was a top 3 or 4 class nationally. Several of those players ended up playing as true freshmen. You know that if you're bringing in a player of this ability, of this caliber, you're going to get him on the field, and he's got that talent to be an impact player from the time he steps foot come September.
He's probably going to be asked to be an impact player too. Auburn still rounding out that roster under Hugh Freeze, but a huge win for him in the state of Alabama. Smoke, your pick for a sneaky good class is number 19, Missouri. Where do you see Drink's ability to parlay the success they saw this season into this class?
Well, I'm going to just go out there and say, call Coach Reed didn't tell me to say this.
No, it's all you.
I'm drinking that. Whatever Drink is pouring out, you're drinking in terms of what he's doing in recruiting. We heard it already. Williams Winery, Jalen Brown. You got Cameron Keys, Jaron Sensabaugh. All he's done is remove, replace, and they're getting better athletes. Winning 10 games last year and winning that final game, yeah, that started his whole entire recruiting thing for him. And they're now gone over that cusp of that okay team. They're now that arrival team that will have a chance. I'm not going to put pressure on them out there. Chance of playing for the SEC championship and getting in that 12-team playoff. They're recruiting the right way. Winning in the state, winning up front, and replacing skilled players with better skilled players early with developmental upside.
Okay, Huff, your pick for Diamond in the Rough is Texas A&M linebacker Jordan Lockhart. What makes him a diamond in the rough?
Well, you know, again, we look at the St. John Bosco program and how many talented players they've produced over the years, and the defensive players they've had just these last couple of years. Mateo Uyunglele, now at Oregon. You had Marcellus Williams going to USC, Peyton Woodyard, Alabama, Kingston Villamalosa going to Notre Dame. Well, Jordan Lockhart was just as much a part of that Braves defense this last year. It took him a while to get his foot in the door and be a starter at St. John Bosco. We got a chance to see him at the Polynesian Bowl, and he was phenomenal from the beginning of the week till the end of the week. He's a 3-star guy, high 3-star guy, but a player that I think when he gets to college, when he has more opportunities to play, again, Bosco's such a talented team. There was traffic there. There was a number of linebackers he had to play behind. When he gets that chance to really flourish, I think he's going to take it and run with it. It's hard to call a guy who's an 88 a diamond in the rough, but when you look at what A&M has done recruiting-wise, he may not be as highly rated as some of the other guys, and he doesn't have as much film as some of his teammates do, but this is a player that I think his best football is going to be played when he gets to College Station.
All right, Smoke, your pick for baddest dude is the #1 cornerback in the class, and that is Ellis Robinson. What about his play makes him a bad man?
First word that you want to ever hear from a corner is he's sticky. And that's not because he has glue. He has glue-like feet and cat-like reactions in terms of the corner. But the thing that separates him from most corners that can cover, because you have corners that can cover, corners that can't catch. He's a combination of both. He has sticky coverage, and when you put that ball in the air, he can go get it. And then you stick him with T-Rob. All T-Rob's done in the last few years is produced maybe 2 first-round corners in Mr. Kool-Aid and Mr. Arnold. So coach with player equals success.
Baddest dude. Love that. That's tough to do in the SEC. They're known for having a lot of those guys. The final superlative, Huff is Heisman candidate, and you are picking Florida quarterback DJ Lagway. We talking year 1, or what are you thinking with this pick?
We are not talking year 1.
Okay.
But we're talking that in the very near future, he could be in New York City come mid-December. And if that's the case, then Billy Napier's seat will have cooled off immensely. or he's out of there and somebody else comes in and transforms Lagway into that Heisman Trophy winner. But you look at the dual threat ability that he has. Who just won the Heisman Trophy? The #2 dual threat quarterback in 2019 in Jaden Daniels, a guy who made teams pay with his legs and his arm, and that's what Lagway has. He's a bigger player than Jaden Daniels is even now in terms of his size. So now that translates what he's done in Texas as a high school player. The stats that he was putting up on Friday nights, both rushing the ball and throwing the ball, were big time. But now there is going to be an expectation. SEC football is a step up from Texas. Obviously, we know that. But a lot of those Texas high school players can make that transition to college pretty quickly. And now there's going to be this expectation from Florida fans that, hey, Billy, we need to get this offense kicking. We need to get this offense revived. What are we going to do? You put in a true freshman, buys you a little bit of time, but this kid has the ability to make Florida fans remember Anthony Richardson, to remember a guy who won a Heisman Trophy and a national championship with them 15 years ago, Tim Tebow, who was just as much of a problem trying to tackle in the open field as he was trying to defend his passes. Well, Lagway has that ability, but he's a much better passer at the same stage than Tebow. So this is a guy that I would not be shocked if in the next year, 2, 3 years, he's in New York City come mid-December at the Downtown Athletic Club.
So you're saying he's getting on the field this year?
I am.
You agree?
1,000%.
Okay.
If not, somebody's getting out of town.
And I don't think it's going to be Lagway.
I certainly hope we get to see him on the field. And I'm sure Billy Napier hopes to see him on the field as well.